Lviv is one of those cities where the map does not tell the whole story. Today, it is the largest city in western Ukraine and one of the country's most important cultural centers. But to understand Lviv, it is not enough to describe it as a Ukrainian city with beautiful architecture. Lviv has been a royal capital, a Polish regional center, a Habsburg provincial capital, an academic powerhouse, a Soviet city, and finally a major city of independent Ukraine. Each political change left a mark, not only on buildings and street names, but on memory, identity, and the way people understand the city itself. Its streets carry layers of Ruthenian, Polish, Austrian, Jewish, Armenian, and Ukrainian history. That is why Lviv feels less like a single historical chapter and more like a whole library compressed into one urban landscape. The city's name points back to its medieval roots. Lviv was named after Leo I of Galicia, the son of Daniel, King of Ruthenia. This origin matters because it places Lviv within the political world of medieval Eastern Europe, long before modern national borders existed. In the 13th and 14th centuries, this region was shaped by the Kingdom of Galicia-Volhynia, a state that connected the lands of present-day western Ukraine with wider European trade and dynastic politics. Lviv eventually became the capital of that kingdom from 1272 to 1340. Its location helped it grow. It sat near important routes linking east and west, north and south. That geography made the city valuable, but also vulnerable. Whoever controlled Lviv controlled a gateway into a strategically important part of Europe. In the 14th century, Lviv's political direction changed dramatically. After a war of succession, the city passed to King Casimir III the Great of Poland. In 1356, Casimir granted Lviv town rights, a legal status that helped structure urban life, trade, and self-government. This was not just an administrative detail. Town rights encouraged the growth of guilds, markets, and municipal institutions. Lviv became a place where merchants, craftsmen, and religious communities could establish themselves under a recognizable urban framework. From 1434 onward, it served as the regional capital of the Ruthenian voivodeship in the Kingdom of Poland. Under Polish rule, the city became increasingly important as a commercial and administrative center, while still remaining culturally mixed and religiously diverse. One of Lviv's defining features has always been its diversity. For centuries, the city was home to multiple communities living side by side, sometimes cooperatively and sometimes uneasily. Ukrainians, Poles, Jews, Armenians, Germans, and others contributed to the city's economic and cultural life. This diversity shaped everything from worship and education to architecture and trade. The city was not a simple melting pot where differences disappeared. Instead, it was more like a mosaic, with communities maintaining their own institutions while sharing the same urban space. That mosaic is one reason Lviv's historical identity is complex. Different groups have remembered the same streets in different ways, and the city's past cannot be reduced to a single national story without losing something essential. In 1772, Lviv entered another major phase when the first partition of Poland brought the city under Habsburg rule. It became the capital of the Kingdom of Galicia and Lodomeria, a crownland of the Habsburg Empire. This period transformed the city's role again. As a provincial capital, Lviv developed institutions, bureaucracy, and cultural life within the imperial system. The Habsburgs ruled a vast multinational empire, and Galicia was one of its most complex regions. Lviv became a center where imperial administration, Polish elite influence, Ukrainian national awakening, Jewish urban life, and modern education all intersected. The city's architecture also began to reflect this imperial period, with elegant public buildings and urban planning that connected Lviv to the wider visual language of Central Europe. The architecture of Lviv is one of the easiest ways to see its layered past. The historical center is known for cobblestone streets and a mixture of Renaissance, Baroque, Neoclassical, and Art Nouveau styles. These are not decorative labels only, they reveal centuries of changing tastes, patrons, and political environments. Renaissance courtyards suggest trade and urban wealth. Baroque churches speak to religious competition and artistic ambition. Neoclassical buildings reflect the language of order and administration. Art Nouveau facades point to a modernizing city at the edge of the 20th century. This architectural range is why Lviv's historic center is recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Walking through it feels like moving through overlapping eras rather than a single preserved period. Between the two world wars, Lviv, then widely known by its Polish name Lwów, belonged to the Second Polish Republic. From 1918 to 1939, it was the center of Lwów voivodeship and experienced a period of cultural, industrial, and academic vitality. The city was especially known for its universities and intellectual circles. The Lwów School of Mathematics became internationally significant, producing work that influenced modern mathematics. There were also important historical and economic schools associated with the city. This academic life gave Lviv a reputation as a place of serious scholarship and lively debate. But this interwar flourishing existed alongside political tensions, ethnic divisions, and competing national claims. Lviv was vibrant, but it was also a city under pressure from the unresolved conflicts of the region. The Second World War marked one of the most devastating breaks in Lviv's history. In 1939, after the German-Soviet invasion of Poland, the city was annexed by the Soviet Union. Then came German occupation, followed by the return of Soviet power. Remarkably, Lviv's physical fabric survived the war comparatively intact, especially when compared with cities that were bombed into ruins. But the survival of buildings should not be confused with the survival of the pre-war city. The human world of Lviv was shattered. Jewish life, once central to the city's identity, was largely destroyed in the Holocaust. Polish residents were later displaced or expelled in the post-war border changes. By 1946, when Lviv became part of the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic, the city had lost an estimated 80 to 90% of its pre-war population. That demographic rupture changed Lviv profoundly. A city can keep its churches, theaters, universities, and streets, yet still become a different city when the people who gave those places meaning are gone. After the war, Lviv became increasingly Ukrainian in population and identity, but within the political framework of the Soviet Union. Soviet power brought new industries, institutions, and ideological control. At the same time, Lviv remained distinct within Soviet Ukraine because of its western location, its historical ties to Central Europe, and its strong cultural memory. The city's older architecture and religious heritage did not fully fit the Soviet vision of modernity. This tension helped Lviv become a place where Ukrainian cultural identity could remain especially visible, even under pressure. In 1991, the Soviet Union dissolved, and Lviv remained part of independent Ukraine. This moment did not simply change the flag over the city. It allowed Lviv to reinterpret its own history within a Ukrainian national framework. Streets, monuments, public memory, and cultural institutions could now emphasize stories that had been suppressed or reshaped under Soviet rule. Lviv became known as one of Ukraine's most strongly Ukrainian cultural centers, especially in language, civic identity, and national symbolism. Yet the city's full history remains broader than any one identity. Its Ukrainian present is built on a deeply European and multi-ethnic past. That combination gives Lviv its particular power. It is both a symbol of Ukrainian continuity and a reminder of how complicated Central and Eastern European history can be. Lviv today is not only a historical showcase. It is also a living city with universities, industries, theaters, orchestras, and civic institutions. Lviv University and Lviv Polytechnic continue the city's long academic tradition. The Lviv Theatre of Opera and Ballet and the Academic Symphony Orchestra of the Lviv Philharmonic represent its continuing cultural importance. These institutions matter because they show that Lviv's heritage is not frozen in the past. Culture here is not only something preserved for tourists, it is something performed, taught, debated, and renewed. The city's identity depends on this living continuity. Its value is not just that old buildings survived, but that the city still produces education, art, and public life from within that historic environment. The Russian invasion of Ukraine has added a new layer of urgency to Lviv's story. The city's historic center is listed as endangered because war threatens not only lives and infrastructure, but also cultural memory. Even when a city is far from the heaviest frontline destruction, heritage can still be at risk through missile strikes, displacement, economic pressure, and the strain of war. Lviv has also played a major role as a Western Ukrainian hub during the conflict, receiving displaced people, supporting logistics, and serving as a cultural and diplomatic doorway to Europe. In this context, Lviv is more than a beautiful old city. It is a reminder that heritage is not guaranteed. It survives because people protect it, rebuild around it, and continue to give it meaning. What makes Lviv fascinating is not one single monument, ruler, or historical event. It is the accumulation of many histories in one place. Medieval Ruthenian roots, Polish urban law, Habsburg administration, interwar scholarship, wartime catastrophe, Soviet transformation, and independent Ukrainian identity all shaped the city. Lviv's old streets are beautiful, but their beauty becomes more powerful when you understand what they have witnessed. This is a city that has changed names, empires, populations, and political systems, yet has remained a center of culture and memory. To explain Lviv is to explain how cities survive history, not by staying unchanged, but by carrying traces of every change forward. That is why Lviv matters. It is both a Ukrainian city and a European archive of endurance. If you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe for more explainers.